He called himself a boxer, a truck loader, a cemetery worker. Samuel Little was born in 1940 in Reynolds, Georgia, and raised in Lorain, Ohio. He grew up restless, charming, and angry. By his teens, he was already in trouble: petty theft, assault, breaking, and entering. By his 20s, he was a drifter, hopping freight trains and Greyhound buses across America with no fixed address and no fixed identity. Between 1956 and 2012, Samuel Little was arrested at least 26 times in 11 different states. Charges range from shoplifting to armed robbery to assault. He was charged with murder more than once, and each time he walked free. Witnesses changed their stories. Evidence disappeared. Juries did not believe the women he attacked because the women he attacked were the kind of women America had already decided not to listen to. Samuel Little hunted at the margins. He searched for women already invisible to the system: sex workers, drug users, the homeless, the addicted. He searched for the women whose disappearance would not generate a missing persons poster, would not make the evening news, would not start a search party. He searched for victims the world had agreed to forget. For nearly 40 years, the world cooperated. The first body officially linked to Samuel Little was found in Pascagoula, Mississippi in 1982. Melinda Lapre. Strangled, dumped. Her case went cold within weeks, but Melinda was not the first. She was simply the first that anyone could later prove. Across the 70s and 80s, women began disappearing from cities Samuel Little drifted through. Miami, New Orleans, Houston, Atlanta, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. He stayed nowhere long. He left no paper trail. He killed by manual strangulation. No bullets, no blades, no shell casings, no fibers. He often dumped victims in remote locations or staged the scene to look like an overdose. In an era before national DNA databases, a strangled body in a ditch told investigators almost nothing. He was arrested for 2 of these murders. In Mississippi in 1982 and in Florida in 1984, he stood trial for killing women he would later admit to murdering. Both juries acquitted him. Samuel Little walked out of 2 courtrooms a free man and went back to hunting. By the time investigators began connecting the dots stretched from coast to coast. 3,000 miles wide, 40 years deep. Detectives in Cleveland had no reason to call detectives in Los Angeles. Cold case files in Florida were never cross-referenced with cold case files in Kentucky. The bodies were strangers. The cities were strangers. Even the decades were strangers. The system was not built to see a killer who refused to stay in one place. In September 2012, a homeless man at a Kentucky shelter was arrested on a minor narcotics charge. Routine fingerprinting fed him into a national database. The query came back with extraordinary results. His DNA matched evidence from 3 unsolved Los Angeles murders dating back to 1987 and 1989. Carol O'Ford, Audrey Nelson, Guadalupe Padaca, 3 women, all strangled, all dumped, all unsolved for more than 20 years. The DNA was conclusive. In 2014, Samuel Little was convicted of all 3 murders and sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms without parole. He was 74 years old. For most agencies, the case was closed. Texas Ranger James Holland was not most agencies. Holland had built a reputation for interviewing serial killers. He believed Little was responsible for far more than 3 deaths. In 2018, he flew to California with a single goal: get Samuel Little to talk. What Holland understood was that Little wanted to be remembered. He had spent 40 years invisible. Holland offered him visibility on his own terms, a transfer to a more comfortable facility, art supplies, a captive listener. Then Holland asked him to remember. Samuel Little remembered everything. He confessed to 93 murders across 19 states. He recalled the year, the city, the road, the color of a victim's coat, the song on the radio. He could not recall most of their names. He had never asked. But he could draw their faces, from memory, with colored pencils, 40 years later. The FBI took every confession, every drawing, every detail, and they built the map. The map showed something the criminal justice system had never seen so clearly. A single human being, moving across the United States for 4 decades, leaving bodies in 19 different states, and never once identified as a serial offender by the agencies whose jurisdictions he crossed. To understand how, you have to understand Samuel Little. Behavioral analysts who interviewed him described a man with extraordinary visual memory and almost no remorse. He did not kill in rage. Killed for what he called the feeling, a calm, focused euphoria he chased the way other addicts chase a drug. He preferred manual strangulation because it was slow, intimate, and silent. He told investigators he selected victims he believed no one would miss. He was correct often enough that he was never caught in the act. Forensic psychologists categorized him as a hedonistic killer, a subset of serial offender driven not by ideology, not by anger, not by psychosis, but by pleasure. He was not delusional. He was not insane. He understood exactly what he was doing, knew it was wrong by every standard society held, and did not care. In interviews, he described his victims with the affectless precision of a man recalling old fishing trips. What made him uniquely dangerous was not cruelty. It was camouflage. Samuel Little understood the blind spots of American policing, the marginalized victim, the cross-jurisdictional gap, the silent killing method, the migratory lifestyle, and he exploited every single one. He was not a genius. He was a pattern, and the system was built in a way that could not see him. By the time the FBI confirmed his confessions, Samuel Little was a dying man in a California prison hospital. He never stood trial for most of the murders he admitted to. He was officially linked by federal investigators to at least 60 victims, making him, by the FBI's own designation in 2019, the most prolific serial killer in United States history. He died on December 30, 2020. He was 80 years old. The map he helped build is still being used. The FBI publicly released several of Little's confession videos and his victim portraits, hoping families of missing women might recognize a face, a date, a place. As of this recording, dozens of his victims remain officially unidentified. Their families, if they exist, still do not know what happened. The legacy of Samuel Little is not a single act of horror. It is a quiet indictment of which deaths America investigates and which deaths America forgets. Every woman he killed was already unseen by their cities, by their families in some cases, by the agencies meant to protect them. Samuel Little did not slip through the cracks. He walked through corridors no one was watching. The map did what no investigator could do alone. It showed the corridors, it made the invisible visible, and in doing so it forced America to confront a question it had spent 40 years refusing to ask. CTA, 30 seconds. If this case held you, there are more like it on this channel. Patterns hidden in plain sight. Killers no one was looking for. Cold cases that took decades to crack, and the ones still open tonight. Subscribe to CrimeDossier so the next file finds you the moment it opens. Every subscription helps these cases reach the people who still remember the names. Outro, 30-45 seconds. Somewhere tonight in a missing persons file no one has opened in 30 years, there is the name of a woman Samuel Little killed. Her family does not know. Her city does not remember. Her case sits in a folder in a basement behind a locked door. The map made dozens of names visible. The question that lingers is not how many the map found. It is how many it didn't.